I think about the upskilling and sort of AI literacy that I went through when I was back at IBM, way before generative
Mhm.
AI. There was IBM Watson was our then sort of poster child for AI at the time. The average person, they didn't know what that meant. We're a cognitive computing company now. Well, what the hell does that mean,
Yeah.
right? So so teach them how this came to be. Advancements in AI plus big data plus cloud computing. Apply cybersecurity on top of that. Apply data privacy on top of that. Hey, functionally, look at what this can do. Well, this can do speech to text, text to speech. This can see what's on your plate, tell you how many calories are in your meal, and it can,
Hot
you
dog,
know,
not hot dog.
what? Yeah, right. Cat, not cat.
Yeah.
So, but but yeah, I mean, you part of this is opening people's eyes to what's possible, and so yeah, I guess I'm just anxious to see people solving bigger things than just automating things with it and um, using it in ways that don't solve a real problem.
Mm.
I'm all for shortcutting things where it makes sense and where it's ethical and appropriate to do so. Nobody wants all that grunt work, and um, there's a lot that can be done, but I want it to help us make better decisions in whether that's an individual context or a team setting or
Mhm.
for a big company. And um, so I think about some of that that I'd like to see more companies do, and I think about um, what else could people learn and work on once you automate some of the things that nobody really wants to do. They do it because they need to do it, and it's part of everybody's job to an extent.
Yeah, that's the magic of technology, right? Is as it gets better and it helps us do those day-to-day things, it opens up that space for us to be creative and do the things that we've never thought about doing. We can start to imagine the possibilities, you know. But I do think it's really important that it is taken out of the black box, right? That we are able to manipulate it as the humans who are the ones impacted by it or using it, that we're able to, apply it equally to everybody. So it's not like, you know, if you change one thing, it only applies to the folks who have come after. It needs to apply to all the folks who were there before. So I think that there are some of those hard questions, and very, very frankly, I think one of the harder parts for me about why right now this is difficult is because I think, in particular, in the United States, we are collectively trying to sort of level set, um, come to a reckoning with some of our inadequacies or mistakes. And my one fear, well, not my one fear, maybe my biggest, is that if we don't take the opportunity specifically with this technology, AI, we're just at this sort of tipping point where if we don't think about this from an equity perspective, we will not only repeat the mistakes of the past that we've created and made systemic in a lot of situations, but we will amplify them because the technology is so much more powerful. So I think that's why it's so important to be having conversations like this, for folks like you to be making sure we're keeping this top of mind, and that ethics and access and equity and accessibility and equity, applicability and thoughtfulness and transparency are so important, because we have an opportunity to, for the first time, maybe in I mean, I know somebody's going to think I'm overstating this, but I think the reality is that we do actually have the opportunity to begin to level the playing field in a society where class plays a much bigger role than we've ever acknowledged that it does, where gender plays a bigger role and where race play all of these others, right? This neurodivergence, all of these things, difference, we'll say, plays a bigger role than we've ever given it credit for. And so we have an opportunity to right that, right? And to create a better place for all of those folks to be able to have access and where everyone wins. And so that's part of a much bigger conversation around how do we stop the zero sum thinking and all of those types of things. But I think there is a real opportunity here for us to use this technology in a way that it is creating some of those better moments, but it does have to be thoughtful and it does have to be intentional. And the people who are using the tools are the ones that have to sort of link arms to sort of demand that that is what companies are doing with their technologies.
I couldn't agree more. I think you're exactly right. And I just think um, responsible AI, human-centric AI, is how embrace this wave of technology appropriately, and we think about, as one of my podcast guests called it, humanness. If we think about what's best for us as a society, um, then AI is the way to have the transparency um, and the ability to level that playing field and to see our past mistakes. The AI isn't, if the AI is exhibiting bias, it's because that's how it was trained by us, right? So if you acknowledge that, then we can take baby steps at least to course correct.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. How many gazillions of data points, at this point that are training these models, and garbage in, garbage out is always true. Yeah. And the reality is that because we know that, right, we can't go back and change history. We can't go back and change what's been written or the way things maybe have been tweaked. History maybe has been tweaked, we'll call it. But what we can do is add additional information. Find out where are our weaknesses here in our knowledge? Where should we be thinking differently? What did we get wrong? And then how do we acknowledge and correct that? And also train the models to do the same. The fact that it thinks it has to have it early on, sometimes still now, thinks it has to have an answer, so it makes one up instead of just saying, I don't know, right? That's so reflective of us as humans, right? And so we need to be able and willing to take a hard look at our own selves and our own preferences and biases because the systems we create get exactly the outcomes that we design them to give us. So we need to be thoughtful about how we build this system so that we get the outcomes that we desire to have.